Here's the thing about wanting to stop people-pleasing. The wanting and the doing are separated by a very specific fear. Not the fear of conflict, not the fear of other people's reactions, though those are present. The deepest fear is this: if I stop people-pleasing, will I still be a good person? This fear is the pattern's last line of defense. It runs so deep that even exploring the question feels dangerous. Because people-pleasers have often built their entire identity around being the helpful one, the giving one, the one who makes things easier for everyone else. If you take that away, who are you? I want to address this directly at the start, because everything else in this video rests on understanding one thing. Stopping people-pleasing doesn't mean stopping caring. It doesn't mean becoming selfish or cold or indifferent. It means becoming honest. And honesty, as we'll see, makes you a better friend, colleague, partner, and person, not a worse one. Let's talk about how. Let's start with why most attempts to stop people-pleasing fail. The answer is almost always the same. People try to change the behavior without changing what drives it. People-pleasing is not a conscious choice in the moment. It is a conditioned response maintained by two powerful reinforcement loops. Positive reinforcement, the approval and relief you get when you please someone, feels genuinely good. Your nervous system gets a safety signal. Negative reinforcement, the anxiety of potentially disappointing someone is avoided. Again, your nervous system gets relief. A pattern reinforced on both ends, both by reward and by the removal of discomfort, is one of the most stubborn patterns in behavioral science. Willpower works against one reinforcement loop with some success. Against two simultaneous loops, it runs out. This is why you've probably tried to just be more assertive before and found yourself reverting within days or hours. The nervous system has not been updated. It is still running the old software, and willpower is not a software update. The most evidence-based framework for changing deeply conditioned patterns is acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. It was developed by psychologist Stephen Hayes and has an extensive research base across anxiety, depression, and exactly this kind of values-behavior conflict. ACT makes one crucial distinction that changes everything. You cannot directly control your feelings, but you can control your actions. Most approaches to people-pleasing try to eliminate the anxiety first, and then change the behavior. ACT reverses this. You notice the anxiety, you acknowledge it, you don't fight it or try to make it go away, and then you act on your values anyway. The technical term for this is diffusion. You create psychological distance from the anxious thought. Rather than "I am terrified of disappointing them," which fuses you to the thought, you move to "I notice I'm having the thought that I'm terrified of disappointing them." A small shift in language, a profound shift in relationship to the thought. The anxiety is there, it is not in charge. The second major tool is graduated exposure, a well-established technique from CBT that involves gradually increasing your tolerance for the thing you fear in low-stakes increments. For people-pleasers, the fear is disapproval. The exposure is deliberately causing small, manageable amounts of it and observing that you survive. This sounds almost absurd, but it is neurologically sound. Every time you make a small assertion and the predicted catastrophe doesn't happen, your brain updates its threat prediction slightly. Enough updates and the prediction changes. Practically, this looks like choosing the restaurant, declining an optional social obligation without a 200-word explanation, sending the shorter email, letting someone be mildly disappointed without immediately trying to fix it, expressing an opinion you'd normally keep to yourself. Each of these is a rep. You are doing what athletes call deliberate practice, training your nervous system's response under low-stakes conditions, so that it holds when the stakes feel higher. And subscribe to this channel if you want daily content like this. It really helps to have a regular practice. Please go ahead and hit subscribe now. The goal of graduated exposure is not to never feel the discomfort. It is to make the discomfort familiar enough that it stops running your decisions. A common stumbling block: knowing you want to change the pattern, but not having language for it. Here are some structures that work. For declining requests, acknowledge, decline, optional alternative. That sounds like a good event. I can't make it work right now. I hope it goes well. Clean, warm, no apology, no over-explanation. The acknowledgement does the relational maintenance. The decline is brief and doesn't invite negotiation. For expressing a need, name the need, not the accusation. I need a bit of quiet time this evening, rather than, you always expect too much of me. The first is information, the second is a charge. Information invites collaboration, charges invite defensiveness. For dealing with pushback, I understand that's frustrating. And then repeat your position, calmly, once. You don't owe escalating justifications. The broken record technique, a concept from assertiveness training, works precisely because it doesn't give the pushback anything to push against. You are not being unkind, you are being consistent. Here is the reframe that I want to offer for the long term, and it is drawn from the work of therapist Terry Cole, who has written extensively on people-pleasing recovery. There are two kinds of giving: fear-giving and real giving. Fear-giving is what people-pleasers do. You give because the anxiety of not giving is more powerful than any genuine desire to give. Fear-giving has a cost. It generates resentment, creates inauthenticity, and over time depletes the giver. Real giving is different. It comes from genuine desire, from surplus, from care. When you genuinely want to help someone and do, that feels entirely different in your body. There is no dread before. There is no resentment after. There is the simple satisfaction of having chosen to give something you had available. The goal of recovery is not to stop giving. It's to shift from fear-giving to real giving. To help when you genuinely want to decline when you genuinely can't or don't want to operate from your actual values rather than from anxiety. This shift makes you a more reliable, more genuine, and, paradoxically, more generous person in the long run. You will slip back. This is not pessimism, it is neuroscience. Long-standing patterns have deep grooves. When you're tired, stressed, or in relationships that activate old dynamics, the old responses will fire. This is not failure. It is the nature of change. What matters is how you respond to the slip. The people-pleasing response to relapsing into people-pleasing is, ironically, to be harshly self-critical, which reactivates the shame that drives the pattern in the first place. This is not helpful. The alternative: notice without judgment. I just did the thing again, okay. Ask what the trigger was. What was the emotional state that made the old response fire? Tired, anxious, in a difficult dynamic, facing a particularly charged relationship. That information is useful. It tells you where to focus your practice. And then try again. Change is not linear. It happens in spirals. You return to old territory, but from a slightly different vantage point each time. Each repetition is useful data, not evidence of permanent failure. I want to end with something that gets said too rarely in conversations about people-pleasing recovery. You are not trying to become a different person. You are trying to become more fully yourself. The person who can say no without a crisis, who gives because they want to, not because they're afraid of what happens if they don't, who disagrees in a meeting without their hands shaking, who allows someone to be disappointed and stays steady, who knows what they want for dinner. That person is not a worse version of you. They are a freer version, and the people who genuinely love you will not like you less when you become more real. They will like you more, because you will be easier to actually know. The performance takes a lot of energy to maintain. Imagine what you could do with it back. This is the final long-form video in Series 6 of Healing Through Thoughts, People Pleasing. Thank you for watching all week. Please subscribe if you haven't, share this with one person who needed it, and take genuinely good care of yourself. You deserve that, not as a reward for being useful to everyone else, just because you do.